If President Trump follows through on this threat to impose 25% tariff across the board on Canadian goods, how should Canada respond?
Well, I think we should start responding today. I think that we should publish for consultation a retaliation list. I think it should be massive, right? It should be $200 billion. That's not saying that we retaliate at $200 billion, but giving us like a menu, like a smorgasbord of choices. And we need to publish it now because when President Trump says America first, I believe him. And I believe that he doesn't care that much if Canadian politicians are jumping around, banging our fists on the table, etc. But he cares about Americans. And I want Wisconsin dairy farmers to see themselves on that list and to be calling the White House and to be saying, Mr. President, we elected you, but now it's going to be terrible. We're not going to be able to sell stuff to Canada. I want Michigan blue-collar workers who make washing machines in Michigan to see their washing machines on the list and to call up the White House and say, Mr. President, what the heck here? We love selling stuff to Canada.
We're going to put tariffs on outside countries and outside people that really mean us harm. They want to, well, they mean us harm, but they basically want to make their country good. Look at what others do. China's a tremendous tariff maker, and India and Brazil and so many countries. And so we're not going to let that happen any longer because we're going to put America first. Always put America first. That's what's going to happen. We're going to establish a very fair system where money is going to come into our coffers and America is going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly. It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before. You know, the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States, relatively speaking. In other words, relatively. And they set up the Great Tariff Commission of 1887. And this commission had one function: what to do with all the money that we took in. It was so enormous that they had no idea. It was a blue ribbon committee. It was set up 1887. And what to do with all of the money that we had. And again, Teddy Roosevelt was a beneficiary because when McKinley was killed, he took over this vast sum of money and he did all of those national parks and all of the other things. And I'm not knocking him, but he was given a vast amount of money. And that was all made through tariffs. We had no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Under the American First economic model, as tariffs on other countries go up, taxes on American workers and businesses will come down and massive numbers of jobs and factories will come home. The job creation will be enormous.
Do not do this. And the thing that I think can sometimes be missed, especially in how Americans think about this, is I think you guys don't think about Canada very much. I think when you think about Canada, maybe you think about hockey, and I just don't think you think of us as major players. And that is fine with us. But what you miss in that calculation about Canada is uniquely in the whole world, we have economic leverage over you. You guys are not a big trading nation, but insofar as you export stuff, you sell it to your Canadian pals. So actually, we do matter for you, and we're your main customer. And I think Canadians now need to be reminding not so much the White House, but all those great Americans who sell us your great American stuff. And I think what we need to be saying is, we love your stuff. You guys make great stuff. That's why we buy so much of it. And really, don't you want to keep selling it to us?
We have three main messages this morning. First, inflation has been close to the 2% target since last summer. Monetary policy has worked to restore price stability. Second, lower interest rates are boosting household spending and economic activity is picking up. But third, the potential for a trade conflict triggered by new US tariffs on Canadian exports is a major uncertainty. This could be very disruptive to the Canadian economy and is clouding the economic outlook. Nevertheless, some things are clear. A long-lasting and broad-based trade conflict would badly hurt economic activity in Canada. At the same time, the higher cost of imported goods will put direct upward pressure on inflation. The magnitude and timing of the impacts on output and inflation will depend importantly on how businesses and households in the United States and Canada adjust to higher import prices. Unfortunately, tariffs mean economies simply work less efficiently. We produce and earn less without tariffs. Monetary policy cannot offset this. What we can do is help the economy adjust to be a source of economic stability. However, with a single instrument, our policy interest rate, we can't lean against weaker output and higher inflation at the same time. As we consider our monetary policy response, we will need to carefully assess the downward pressure on inflation from weakness in the economy and weigh that against the upward pressure on inflation from higher input prices and supply chain disruptions.